the master of the hidden tomb. The scorching desert stretched endlessly beneath a blazing sun, its golden dunes shifting like waves upon a silent sea. Yet on this day, the desert did something it had not done for thousands of years. It trembled. The earth split apart with a thunderous roar that echoed across the horizon. Sand cascaded into a widening chasm, as if an invisible giant had torn the world open. From the darkness below emerged the top of an enormous stone gate, its surface carved with ancient symbols that no modern scholar could recognize. News of the discovery spread across the globe within hours. Some called it the greatest archaeological discovery in human history. Others whispered that it was a cursed place where no one should ever set foot. Legends from forgotten dynasties spoke of a tomb that had never been found, a place where emperors feared to tread and immortals refused to enter. They called it the hidden tomb. Within days, experts, treasure hunters, military escorts, wealthy investors, and adventurers gathered at the edge of the desert. They all wanted the same thing, the treasure hidden inside. None of them knew that the tomb had never been waiting for intruders. It had been waiting for its master. Hundreds of miles away, in a quiet apartment, 24-year-old Ling Yu jolted awake, her forehead covered in cold sweat. The dream had returned. She stood before an endless staircase carved from black jade. Thousands of crimson lanterns floated in the darkness without any visible flame. Their blood-red light illuminated towering statues of armored warriors, each kneeling with their heads lowered as though greeting a king. Or perhaps a queen. At the end of the staircase sat a woman upon a throne of obsidian. Her long robes flowed across the steps like liquid darkness. Her silver-white hair drifted without wind. Every time Ling Yu dreamed of this place, she tried to see the woman's face. Every time, she took one more step. She woke up. The dream had haunted her since she was 5 years old. Sometimes she heard whispers. Sometimes distant bells echoed through the halls. Sometimes a gentle voice spoke only 3 words. Come home. Come back. No matter how hard she searched, she could never remember who had spoken those words. Ling Yu rubbed her temples and sighed. It was just another dream. She had said those same words hundreds of times. Yet, deep inside, she had never truly believed them. That afternoon, her phone buzzed with a message from Professor Chun. Ling Yu, are you available? An expedition has requested your help. They discovered an ancient tomb in the western desert. The inscriptions resemble symbols from the forgotten Xuan dynasty. You're the only person I know who has studied them. Ling Yu frowned. The Xuan dynasty? According to history, no such dynasty had ever existed. It appeared only in myths. She hesitated before replying. When do we leave? Professor Chun's answer came almost instantly. Tomorrow morning. Ling Yu glanced toward the window. Outside, rain clouds covered the city. Inside her room, however, something impossible happened. A thin layer of golden sand appeared on the floor beneath her bed. She stared at it in confusion. The windows were closed. The doors were locked. Slowly. She bent down and picked up a handful. The grains were warm, as if they had just come from the desert. Far away, beneath countless tons of ancient stone, a faint crack appeared across the seal of a massive black coffin. For the first time in 10,000 years, someone had answered the call. And deep within the darkness, where no living soul had walked for millennia, a pair of ancient eyes slowly opened. The ancient eyes opened slightly. A faint silver light escaped from the darkness of the coffin, illuminating the endless chamber for the briefest moment before fading once more. The silence returned. Yet something had changed. The countless stone statues lining the halls slowly lowered their heads. Their bows were so subtle that at a glance they seemed no different from before. Deep within the tomb, the gears that had slept for 10,000 years slowly began to turn. One after another, the ancient mechanisms awakened, sending a low rumble through the depths beneath the desert. The following morning, Helicopters circled above the excavation site while hundreds of workers hurried around the enormous sinkhole. Floodlights illuminated the colossal stone gate that had emerged from beneath the sand. No machinery had been able to scratch its surface. They had brought in the strongest drills, powerful explosives, and diamond-cutting blades. Still, the ancient stone showed no sign of damage, not even the faintest mark. Instead, every machine mysteriously malfunctioned the moment it touched the gate. Professor Chun stood before it, adjusting his glasses with an exhausted sigh. This doesn't make any sense. Nearby, dozens of scholars argued over the ancient symbols carved into the entrance. No known language. It resembles Oracle bone script. No, it's much older. No civilization capable of carving this should have existed. Then, Ling Yu arrived. The moment her foot touched the ancient stone platform surrounding the gate, a warm breeze swept across the desert. Everyone instinctively looked upward. The wind had appeared from nowhere. Professor Chun smiled in relief. You made it! Ling Yu nodded politely before her gaze drifted toward the enormous gate. The instant she saw it, her breathing stopped. Every symbol, every crack, every line engraved upon the stone. She had seen them before, not in books, but in her dreams. A strange ache spread through her chest. Her fingers trembled. Without thinking, she slowly walked toward the gate. Professor Chun called after her. Ling Yu? She didn't answer. It felt as though something invisible was pulling her forward. The ancient characters carved into the stone no longer appeared unfamiliar. Instead, felt strangely familiar, as if they had been etched into her mind long ago. Her lips moved before her mind could think about it. She softly read the inscription aloud. We were always waiting. My lord? The scholars stared. You can read it? Ling Yu froze. What? Professor Chun hurried closer. What does it say? She looked at the symbols again. Suddenly they became meaningless. Just strange carvings. I don't know. Confusion filled her eyes. I knew a moment ago. The professors exchanged puzzled glances. None of them realized the first line of the inscription had truly been spoken. It wasn't knowledge she had acquired, but something deeply rooted in her instincts. Far beneath them, a giant bell rang once. Its clear tone echoed through endless corridors. Dung. The sound traveled through every chamber past rivers of black water, countless coffins and sleeping beasts bound in chains. One by one, pairs of glowing eyes opened in the darkness. None of them spoke. They simply listened. The bell had rung. That could only mean one thing. Someone had crossed the threshold. At sunset, the expedition finally prepared to open the gate. A massive crane strained against the ancient iron chains wrapped around the stone doors. The engines roared and the cables stretched to their limit, screaming under the immense pressure. Yet the gate did not move, not even a crack appeared. But then, crack. A faint sound echoed from the center of the ancient gate. Not because of the crane, but because Ling Yu, standing several meters away, absent-mindedly placed her palm against the cold stone. A palm mark appeared, perfectly matching the shape of her hand. A wave of warmth surged beneath her fingertips as golden lines spread from her palm, flowing through the ancient carvings like veins awakening with light. Everyone gasped. The symbols began glowing. The massive doors trembled, without a single machine pulling them. The gate slowly opened inward and a wave of cold air rushed out, carrying the scent of ancient incense and weathered stone. The darkness beyond seemed endless. One of the soldiers shone his flashlight inside. The beam disappeared into the darkness as if swallowed by the abyss. No one spoke. Even the desert wind had fallen silent. Then, from somewhere deep within the tomb, an ancient voice echoed in her ears. Come! You finally come! Ling Yu looked around in alarm. Did anyone else hear that? The others exchanged confused looks. Hear what? Professor Chun frowned. Ling Yu swallowed hard. She had heard it clearly just now. as if someone were speaking directly beside her. Instead of feeling afraid, she felt an overwhelming longing for something unknown. Ling Yu stood motionless before the open gate. The others had already begun unloading equipment, setting up floodlights, and checking oxygen levels inside the tomb, but her eyes remained fixed on the darkness beyond. For a fleeting moment, she thought she saw countless tiny lights drifting through the corridor like stars. When she blinked, they were gone. Ling Yu, Professor Chun gently tapped her shoulder. "We're going in." She nodded, shaking off those strange thoughts. The expedition formed 3 groups. The first consisted of armed security personnel. The second was made up of archaeologists and historians. The last group carried cameras and surveying equipment. As the first soldiers stepped across the entrance, nothing happened. The second, the third, still nothing. Everyone relaxed. Perhaps the legends about this tomb had been exaggerated. Then the fourth man placed his foot on the black stone floor. Click! A tiny sound echoed through the corridor. His face turned pale. What was that? Before anyone could answer, thousands of tiny holes suddenly opened in the walls. "Lay down," Professor Chun shouted. A storm of black arrows erupted from every direction. The soldiers threw themselves to the ground. Several archaeologists screamed. One man dropped his backpack and rolled behind a pillar. The arrows flew so fast they became black streaks. Yet, none of them struck Ling Yu. Every arrow that raced toward her changed direction at the last moment, embedding itself harmlessly into the walls beside her. She stood frozen, untouched. When the trap finally stopped, silence filled the corridor once again. Everyone slowly raised their heads. Only a few people had been injured. Professor Chun stared in disbelief. How? The soldiers looked around, letting out sighs of relief. No one had died. Only a few had suffered minor injuries. One of the engineers pressed a hand against his chest, trying to calm his racing heart. Good, you scared me to death." Ling Yu glanced at the arrows surrounding her feet. They formed a perfect circle around her, as if they were intentionally avoiding her. She frowned. That's strange. Before anyone could think further, a deep metallic groan echoed ahead. The corridor was moving. Stone walls shifted. Ancient gears hidden within the tomb awakened. The floor trembled beneath their boots. Dust drifted from the ceiling. A colossal stone door slowly rose from the ground, revealing another passage that hadn't existed moments before. The map they had prepared using ground-penetrating radar was already useless. "It's changing," one researcher whispered. "The entire tomb is changing." Professor Chun's face turned serious. "This isn't just a tomb. It's a maze." They advanced cautiously. The deeper they went, the colder the air became. The walls were covered with breathtaking murals. One showed a city floating among clouds. Another depicted armies kneeling before a woman seated upon a black throne. Her face had been carefully scratched away. Every mural was the same: robes, throne, crown, but never her face. Ling Yu found herself staring at one particular mural longer than the others. The woman wore a pendant shaped like a crescent moon. Without realizing it, Ling Yu reached beneath her shirt. Around her own neck hung an old jade pendant her grandmother had given her before she died. She pulled it into the light. It was the exact same shape. Her heartbeat quickened. "Professor, look at this!" Before Professor Chun could answer, a low growl echoed through the chamber. Everyone froze. The sound did not come from ahead. It came from behind. Slowly, one of the giant stone guardian statues turned its head. Its eyes glowed with a cold blue flame. One after another, the stone statues began to move. Within seconds, dozens of towering stone warriors awakened from their ancient slumber. The soldiers raised their rifles. Fire! Gunshots thundered through the chamber. Bullets struck the stone guardians and shattered harmlessly against their armor. The guardians continued marching forward. Each step shook the floor. Boom, boom, boom! One enormous guardian lifted its stone spear. The soldiers prepared for a desperate fight. Then, Ling Yu instinctively took a single step forward. Stop! The words escaped her lips before she could react. The chamber fell silent. All the guardian statues froze in place. The lead guardian slowly lowered its spear. The ground shook as it dropped to one knee. Behind it, all the other stone warriors did the same, one after another. Hundreds of ancient guardians bowed their heads in silence. Professor Chun removed his glasses with trembling hands. The soldiers stared in disbelief. Someone whispered, "Are they bowing?" Another answered in a hushed voice, "Yeah, I'm not hallucinating." Ling Yu looked just as shocked as everyone else. Far beyond the chamber, hidden in the deepest darkness of the tomb, an ancient white fox with 9 magnificent tails slowly opened its silver eyes. A gentle smile appeared on its face. It seems our master has finally returned. But instead of rising to greet her, the fox closed its eyes once more. Not yet. She must remember on her own. The chamber remained silent.
To be continued. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next episode. See you next time.